What's going on YouTube? Chris here. Want to bring you all an update today of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Right now, Bitcoin's sitting at $10,252. If I get some time later today, we're also going to look at Digibyte, Link, and Tezos in a separate video. But right now, I wanted to focus in on this Bitcoin, ETH, and LTC since they're some of the bigger movers in the market. And what I wanted to pay attention to with Bitcoin was the purple trend line that we have talked about for quite a while. We talked about it in yesterday's video and how we needed a strong bounce to get back up inside this trend line so we can keep trending to the upside. We have not gotten that yet. Okay, so we need to pay attention to that. One of the good things, though, that is happening for Bitcoin here, if you measure these wicks that we have had, the longest one is about 3.8%, almost 4%. And typically, when you do get a wick that long, you will find support and you'll get a reversal. And that's from the bottom. If you get those long wicks at the top, a lot of the times you'll have that sell-off. You can see right up here, we had a very long wick. Up here, we had a long wick here. And then after that, you get that big sell-off. So what we're trying to see is if this is the area now that we can find support. And that would also correlate with almost the apex of this symmetrical triangle, or the top of the symmetrical triangle, which a lot of the times you will find support off of. If you read that after you break out of something like a symmetrical triangle, and we had all this consolidation and congestion sideways, you'll look to find support off that once you have thrown back, and then you'll make that next move to the upside if this trend is going to continue. You can see in white here, this is our 100 moving average, and that's what we've been fighting with. Yesterday we closed slightly below it, but it was still one of those longer wicks, which did show some buyers stepping in at this area. I know a lot of people are buying the dip after a big drop like this because overall our trend still has been up. Okay, we have broken our purple trend line, which is important, but in terms of the overall moving average, looking at that 200 moving average, which is very critical, because if you're a longer term investor, what you're looking for, number one, to sell out of your positions when this happens, number one would be a trend line break, and then number two, if you're a longer term investor, once we drop down below that 200 moving average, and we're not there yet. You can see right now we're fighting with this 100 moving average with those longer wicks, trying to get back up above it so we can go back up and test this purple trend line and see what we do with it, if we're going to get rejection off it, or if we can start climbing back up in there and starting to make some higher levels for us. Okay, so right now what we need to do, we need to turn our $10,419 that was support, we need to turn that red and put that into resistance. So now that's going to be acting as overhead resistance for us that we will need to get back up through again. And that was a big area for us because that was previous resistance that we broke up through strong, and now we've actually fallen back through that. So I want you all to be aware of that. If we take a look at the technicals for Bitcoin, right now we're at a 16 sell, 6 neutral, and a 6 buy. Oscillators improving a little bit from yesterday. Remember this on the 1-day time frame. We have a 3 sell, 5 neutral, and a 3 buy. Moving average, we have a strong sell, 13 sell, 1 neutral, and a 3 buy. But these are the areas, guys, typically, and what I like to do are little micro fibs. So what I want to do here, out of this symmetrical triangle, the lowest area that we ended up getting to before we started to get that breakout, I want to go from the low there to the high, and I want to show you how much we've retraced and what we're sitting on right now. We're sitting on that 0.618, and that is very common. I even went through and fibbed all these different little movements for Bitcoin yesterday, and what I was looking at is typically we'll retrace back in uptrends back to that 0.5 or that 0.618 a lot of the times, and then we'll get that next bounce up to that 0.382. So if this is a bounce area, I wouldn't be shocked for us to go back to 11,121 and see what we do with that. And that's also going to correlate with that trend line. So that's definitely something I'm going to pay close attention to and see if we can finally put that bottom in and get moving to the upside, because this has been a pretty extreme sell-off here, guys. If we take a look from the high when we were at 12,500 that we could not get up over top of, we have dropped down roughly about 21%. And typically we'll drop, if we measure some of these, last time we were in a bull market here, from our top down, we were getting about 18 to 21, 22% retracement. So this is very common. If we look over here, last time we had about a 22% retracement on both of these. But the only difference is, and this is what I don't like that's happened, back here we were finding support off our 30 EMA, which was in purple, and sometimes we'd even get down to this green 60 moving average. We have lost both of those over here. We have lost our 30, we have lost our 60. Those are both acting as overhead resistance from this head and shoulders pattern that we were looking at before about a couple days ago on the 4-hour time frame. So let's see what we do with today, guys. If these wicks are going to be enough, this buying pressure here, to maybe start getting us back up to test some of these higher levels at 10,419. But this is just an area to be safe. If we do keep moving to the downside, support's going to be at 9,708. I'm going to look at, then it'd be around 9,218. So that's going to be Bitcoin. If you get something from that, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You all been really helping me out. Appreciate you helping this channel grow, and I hope you get something from it. I hope we're a little different than all the other channels out there. So next, we're going to get into Ethereum. ETH's at $353. And guys, this is why we take profits like we talked about. When you see profits staring you in the face, that's when you got to take them. And same deal again. I really like to look at tails or wicks. Right up here, we had a wick roughly of about 3%, and then we had a massive sell-off. Over here, we want to measure the wick again. And these are just tips and tricks that I like to use. Doesn't mean it always has to happen. There's another 3%, and then we had that big sell-off. So now what I want to do is look down at this wick where we're at off support. This was over 8%. And you can see we wick down to this 100 moving average. So right now, if we can get some heavy volume today and maybe get almost like a bullish piercing pattern with these longer wicks, this could be the bottom here. And then we could go up and try to get over top of $358. That 60 moving average in green is going to be acting as overhead resistance that we need to get up above. And then it'd be at 30 around $391. So those are going to be the overhead resistances we need to get up above. And we have hit our target. If you've been here for a long time, guys, my target, my buying area was $332 for Ethereum. I was patiently waiting, and you can see that we have hit that, even down to this 100 moving average. Then my next area was that $285. And I even had people laughing at me when I was saying that ETH could go back to 332 when we were all the way up around 488. And guys, there it is. I mean, that's the importance of taking profit when you're swing trading in this market. That's what I like to do. I like to layer into positions, then I like to layer out of positions. I think that's one of the best things to do and try to play these swings. Okay, now if we take a look at Ethereum here, on the technicals, we're looking at a 14 sell, 8 neutral, 6 buy oscillators, 3 sell, 7 neutral, and a 1 buy moving average, 11 sell, 1 neutral, and a 5 buy. If we take a look at our indicators now, we'll take a look at our relative strength index off this area. We're at 42. So if this is the area we want to find support, we'd have plenty of room to continue a move to the upside, but we have to be aware this is some heavy selling pressure that did come in, and now we're waiting to see what type of a bounce that we get out of here. That's what's going to be important, but we have had these longer wicks, some buying pressure stepping in, and let's just see if we can continue to get that move to the upside. Guys, always watch this stuff. You can see how we're making higher highs right there, and our divergence, we're making lower highs. So that's just a tip for you, something to always pay attention to, and that's when you get those sell-offs, okay? So that's going to be Ethereum. If you like me covering that, let me know down low. We'll move into Litecoin next. Litecoin's sitting in a very critical area here on the one-day time frame. This white trend line we've had for quite a while now. You can see the wicks, we've wicked down to it, trying to find support off that right now. Almost messing with like a doji candle right in this area today. We're going to have to wait for the candle close, which is not going to be for another 11 hours from now. So we got a lot of time, but you can see a lot of wicks down here. We're just going to have to see if the buyers will step in and defend this trend line. If they do defend this trend line, we need to get up over top of $50 psychologically now. That's a big number we're looking at. And then it's going to be up around roughly, let's see, $53.84 will be the next overhead resistance area. But this here, guys, this was previous resistance, right? So we're actually going to turn this red now. So this was previous resistance. We broke up through it, had a beautiful move, and we've came back to that area. Now we're trying to find support off it. Previous resistance, you want it to become support. We even dropped a little bit lower on it. Okay, RSI is sitting at 36 right now, so we have cooled off a ton from the top that we were at. We got up to about $70. Same deal, we had that divergence that was taking place. Price was moving up, relative strength was actually losing some strength in that area. If we take a look at Litecoin here, for the technicals, we have a 17 sell, 7 neutral, 4 buy oscillators, 3 sell, 6 neutral, and a 2 buy. And if we do lose this trend line, I would roughly be looking down around 41.78 would be an area. But we are starting to get low here in the RSI, and that's something I am paying attention to here for a potential buy area. Let me check the stock RSI, take a look at that. Sorry, my indicators are messing with me today a little bit, guys. So indicators here for the stock, you're at 2 and 4. So this definitely could be an area with these longer wicks off the trend line. Stock in oversold conditions, maybe this will be an area if we can get some buying pressure and Bitcoin gets moving, that we can get a bounce out of this. I think that would be really important for us. If we take a look at our Bollinger Bands as well, you can see we're very low in terms, basically Bollinger Bands, the top of them are going to show when you're overextended, and then this is going to show when we're oversold, and that's exactly where we're at right now, where we've crushed through the bottoms of the bands as well. So if we even go back up and test the middle band, that would be all the way back up at about $58. So we're just going to have to see what type of bounce we get. This has been a really hard sell-off, and we're just going to have to see if this is a trend change or if this is just one of those huge, deep retracements before we potentially make that next strong move to the upside. If we take a look at our fib here from the low that we had, that we put in for this move, from our swing low to our high, you can see we've actually retraced down through the 0.618 and hit that 0.786. That's a very deep retracement there, but that's typical for altcoins. So that's what I wanted to bring you today, guys. Watch these areas. God bless each and every one of you. Take care, my friends.